One person was killed following a standoff between the police and armed men at the vice mayor's house in Abra. President Duterte asks the BIR, why haven't they collected the 203 billion unpaid estate taxes of the Marcoses? Vice President Leni Robredo and Senator Kiko Pangilinan visited victims of Typhoon Odette in southern Leyte. President Duterte is scheduled to attend PDP Laban's grand rally tonight. And Ginebra books a ticket to the Governor's Cup Finals after beating NLEX. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know as you jumpstart your day. I'm Charles Lejano. One bodyguard has been confirmed dead after an almost 20-hour standoff between the police and the camp of Pilar Abra Mayor Jaja Josefina Disono. This as the police act on a tip that there were armed men in the area. Authorities have since been invited to the compound and Disono has surrendered her family's firearms. Jenny Don has more details.
In this dashcam video first obtained by News 5, a PNP checkpoint tried to halt a vehicle driven by one of Pilar Vice Mayor Jaja Josefina Disono's personnel just before 10:30 in the morning Tuesday, but the van didn't stop. Because of this, two policemen pointed guns at the van, but the vehicle just pressed on and hit the two policemen. The two are now in a stable condition. Other policemen chased the van up until the vice mayor's house. Moments later, the LGU pleaded for help via the town's official Facebook page.
Harasan ta kami apo, palpalibutan ta di balay da po mayura. Digito pa yung pulis apo, tigharas ti tattao na po, uso da peti kuan. Bayasan, iso da tigharas ti tao na po, palpalibutan ta di balay da po mayura. Iseryo apo, iseryo ta makita ti ibubrahan, digito pulis apo. Iseryo apo, iseryo inambos na apo, dahil tinugan na po mayura.
A firefight then happened between the Disono's men and the police. One was killed. According to Abra's Police Provincial Director, they are not targeting Disono, but the white van that was convoyed to her. They received intel of armed men within the vicinity, hence the checkpoint. They also denied harassment since the police did not storm the vice mayor's house, contrary to what Disono claims. At around 5 p.m. Wednesday, Disono finally agreed to let the police enter her compound. 14 different types of firearms, bullets, and licenses were surrendered and examined. According to Disono's lawyer, this was done to determine who fired the first shot.
Ang intensyon naman ay para magkaroon ng ballistics examination ng mga baril at ma-testing nga kung totoo talaga na merong dun sa mga baril na yon na ginamit para tangkain na barilin yung mga kapulisan natin. And the Vice Mayor Disono, after much deliberation, was able to realize na mas ikabubuti na rin para na rin maklear yung sarili niya na.
Fortune insisted that all firearms have proper papers.
I want to make it clear na lahat ng mga firearms ay licensed and she has the necessary permits to carry and and the registration cards. Most of these guns have not been used, mga minana na lang niya ito dun sa kanyang father who is also a politician dito sa Abra.
But when asked if the vice mayor has a private army, Fortune said that's for the authorities to investigate.
I'd probably just leave that to the investigation.
The provincial PNP said that due to the current gun ban, politicians should not have a private army. Disono is gunning for re-election for vice mayor alongside his brother Mark Ronald Somera, who is the current town mayor. They are set to clash with their first cousins. Meanwhile, the vice mayor has turned over 12 of her security personnel for investigation. The PNP says they are in control of the situation and the public has nothing to worry about peace and order. 9 areas in Abra are on yellow category among election hotspots in the province. This means that there is a current intense political rivalry. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, We Are One News.
In his latest public address, President Rodrigo Duterte reminded the BIR of its mandate to collect taxes. This as news about the unpaid estate taxes of the Marcoses, which ballooned to 203 billion pesos, continue to make headlines. Maricel Halili has the story.
In his pre-recorded weekly address to the people, the president was making the case as to why he backs the continued operation of Isabong in the Philippines, when out of nowhere, Duterte called out the Tax Bureau for its failure to collect estate taxes.
Sa taxation natin. So, ang gobyerno can only prod. Hindi naman kailangan reminder sa Malacanang. Nandiyan yung BIR, so tanongin natin yung BIR, bakit hanggang ngayon hindi na kolekta yung estate tax.
The chief executive did not name names, but news about unpaid estate taxes of the Marcoses have been hogging the headlines since campaign season started. After all, not only is Marcos heir Ferdinand Marcos Jr. running for the highest post in the land, he has also been leading pre-election surveys. In 1997, the High Court ruled that the Marcos estate tax of 23 billion pesos is already final. That has already ballooned to 203 billion pesos. The president said government is in need of cash amid the pandemic, hence the need to allow Isabong as it generates 640 million pesos a month, even if it has led to the disappearances of dozens of enthusiasts.
I make it public now. It's 640 million a month. In a year's time, it's billion plus. Saan tayo maghanap ng pera ng gano'n na kadali?
Asked if the president was referring to the Marcoses, acting spokesperson Martin Andanar said the president was simply reminding the BIR of its mandate.
Hindi lang sa kung sinong politiko o personalidad, dapat sa lahat na hindi nagbabayad, habulin ng BIR sapagkat kailangan ng karagdagang pondo ang ating national government.
Marcos Jr. has yet to comment on the matter. His running mate, Sara Duterte, deferred to her father when asked for comment. Marcos Jr. said there have been a lot of fake news involved in their unpaid estate taxes. He also remains hopeful of the president's endorsement. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
The government has the option to file criminal charges against the Marcoses for their refusal to pay estate taxes amounting to 203 billion pesos. That's according to Asian Consulting Group CEO and Senior Tax Advisor Mona Brea. In an interview with The Big Story, Brea reiterated that the BIR is already exhausting its administrative remedies to collect the estate tax from the Marcos family. But he also emphasized that it's the decision of the government on how they want to handle this case.
I don't think there is a deadline. I think it's literally the decision of the government how to handle the case, since it's been 30 years. And in fact, it can be a legacy of the Duterte administration if in fact they will be able to put an end to this unpaid 203 billion estate tax liability of the Marcos family.
Meanwhile, Surigao del Norte's 2nd District Representative, Ace Barbers, says the Marcos family should pay their estate taxes if it's proven in court. But in an interview with 1PH's sa Totoo Lang, Barbers admitted that despite the issue of billions in unpaid taxes, he still trusts and supports ex-Senator Bongbong Marcos.
Para sa akin kasi, bakit ngayon lumalabas itong mga isyong ito na kung saan nangunguna sa pangkalahatang survey ang aming tinutulak na Pangulo, padaanin sa isang legal na proseso, bigyan siya ng due process kapag napatunayan na talagang kinakailangan na sila'y magbayad, dapat magbayad, di ba? Kasi no one is exempted, no one is exempted and above the law. So dapat magbayad kung talagang may desisyon ng ating hukuman.
The Robredo-Pangilinan tandem made a detour on their campaign trail to visit the families affected by Typhoon Odette in southern Leyte. Though they did not receive much of a warm welcome, the tandem vowed to support the community. Gerard de la Peña with the report.
The Team Tropa of Vice President Leni Robredo and Senator Kiko Pangilinan went off track on Wednesday. They made a random visit to Barangay San Jose in Sugod, Southern Leyte, which was not part of their itinerary. But it was a much-needed detour for the team. Typhoon Odette heavily battered the barangay in December last year, with several houses pummeled to the ground. Some 60 fishermen and their families received 10,000 pesos each to help them start over. Yet, many are still unable to have their houses repaired. Robredo blamed government bureaucracy for their slow recovery.
Ang mapapangako lang po namin, kung kami bigyan nyo ng pagkakataon, hindi kayo papahirapan ng ganito, lalo na sa sakuna. Ang dami pong pampapeles na hinihingi. May mga pictures ka pang hinihingi. Sa oras ba naman ng sakuna na nawalan ka na ng bahay, yun po ba yung iisipin mo? Kaya ito, may problema talaga sa bureaucracia na kailangan nating palitan.
Robredo and Pangilinan also graced the rally in Maasin, Southern Leyte. Reception here was not as warm compared to how they were received in northern and eastern Samar. After all, this is a known bailiwick of the Marcoses. But Robredo said she is content with the support she is getting despite losing in the province back in 2016.
Sa Leyte, saka sa Southern Leyte, saka sa Biliran, ang expected namin, mahihirapan kaming mag-organize. Pero unexpectedly, pagpunta namin, may mga organized groups na. Na yun yung opportunity, and yung balak talaga namin, we will build on that.
For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, We Are One News.
Here's where the national candidates are headed today. Vice President Leni Robredo will be campaigning in Lanao del Norte. She and her running mate Senator Kiko Pangilinan will meet some local officials and will hold their so-called People's Rally in the municipalities of Maygo and Kauswagan. Meanwhile, Bongbong Marcos will be holding campaign rallies in Marawi City and Lanao del Sur this morning, where he is also scheduled to meet with some local officials. Later this afternoon, he'll head to the province of Bukidnon and hold political rallies in the cities of Valencia and Malaybalay. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno will be visiting Oriental Mindoro. He will hold a town hall meeting at the motorcade around Calapan. Senator Manny Pacquiao will be campaigning in Guimaras this morning, while this afternoon he'll be attending an event with the Prom-Di party in Iloilo. Senator Ping Lacson, meanwhile, will be in Zamboanga, where he and his running mate, Senator Ping Lacson, will be meeting with local officials in Calawit, Zamboanga del Norte, and Cabasalan, Zamboanga, Sibugay. The tandem will also hold a town hall meeting later this afternoon. Meanwhile, ruling party PDP Laban is set to hold a campaign rally in Lapu-Lapu City in Cebu. President Duterte will be attending the rally at 6 p.m. But the party clarifies this is still tentative, as the Cusi-led faction of PDP Laban had earlier endorsed the candidacy of Marcos Jr. Duterte, however, has yet to make an official endorsement. Barangay Ginebra returns to the PBA Governor's Cup Finals after beating NLEX 112-93. Ginebra phenom Justin Brownlee delivers after scoring a career-high 47 points in the game, bringing Ginebra to their third final stint after being in the 6th spot during eliminations. They'll be facing whichever team wins in the best-of-5 match between Magnolia and Meralco. Meanwhile, Magnolia refuses to back down against Meralco in their 4th semis match on Wednesday. This after the Hotshots soundly beat the Bolts at 94-73. Both teams now have a 2-2 standing, and with their do-or-die games scheduled on April 1 at the Araneta Coliseum. And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us again later at 9 a.m. as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.